So now that we've gotten to the end of this outside row, I just put on my last, the last 15 of row 3B. We need to add those end beads, so that's the same set of 3 we've been doing, the 15, the 11, and the 15, and then we're going to head down into the bracelet to attach those beads. Now at this time, if you want to reinforce your back row one more time, you would just do a U-turn, come back up through that, just through the tile. Again, you're not picking up any of these other beads, but you can come back up through this side of the tile bead and then send your needle through that whole back row if you want to reinforce it a little bit. I'm just going to do these last 2. At this point, I just need to get into my bracelet so I can tie off, and then I'll deal with the tail in a minute. I'm going to go down into this tile, and I popped through the 15 right after it. That's okay. I'm going to go one more juncture so that I'm right next to that 15. I like to find a spot where the knot is really going to hide, so I'm putting it with a bunch of other beads. Now, the way that I like to tie off, I'm coming out through this 11. What I want to do is pick up a cross thread. That means one of these threads that's already a part of the bracelet. And can you see how I'm just picking it up with my needle? I'm going to pull my needle through, but gently and just far enough that I create this loop of thread. Now I'm going to go through this loop. Let's see if I can show that to you. I'm going to go through this loop twice. So if I just go one time through, it's kind of like a first knot. But if I go through it a second time, before I tighten it, it becomes a knot that's going to sink when I pull it. So I'm going to stabilize my piece, and I'm going to pull this knot, and hopefully you can see it sliding into place. Give it a good tug. Now if you look, it doesn't show at all. It should have sunk right down into that spot. So before I trim it off, I do want to travel through 1 or 2 more beads. Kind of pull it tight to get that knot underneath an adjacent bead. And then I'm going to trim that really close. And it's off. Okay, so this is my tail. And I have gone ahead and put my needle on the tail so I can use it to bury the end of that thread and tie it off. My thread is coming out of this end bead, so I'm just going to head into my bracelet the way that I did with my first thread. So my tail is now, I've traveled through this part of the tile bead and it's coming out of that 15. I'm going to head down into the bracelet near one of those 11s. And the same thing, I'm going to pick up a cross thread, pull it through so that it forms a loop, and then I'm going to go through that loop twice. There. Now if I stabilize my bracelet and pull, that knot should sink right down into place. Now I'm going to continue on through a couple of more beads. Give it a nice tight snug pull. And then trim it off.